We have our guests here today, but before we get started with that, I just wanted to give you a quick update on what we'll be doing today. So we're going to give you some quick updates on TUSD and what's going on in our district, also what's coming up and what we're working on with McKinney-Vento and Project Hope and some of our intern programs. Also, we have our two speakers. So we have Viet Hong from the City of Torrance, who will be updating us on homeless services and the plan that the city is coming up with. They've done a lot of work in recent years on that, and I thought it would be a great opportunity during this month to give you an update on that. So we're happy to have him here today. And we're excited to also have a representative from the SPA 8 Family Solutions Center, which is the coordinated entry system for families for homeless services in our service planning area through Harbor Interfaith. So Lauren Stoss is here to talk about the Family Solutions Center. So we will also, before we get started with that, our updates, I just wanted to start with, of course, it's National Homeless Youth Awareness Month, and a lot of professional organizations and agencies in the area and individuals are participating in different activities throughout the month. Some people just wear purple during the month. There's two different colors that they use. Sometimes green is used for runaway youth awareness, and purple tends to be used for more general homeless youth awareness month. So I've used both green and purple in the presentations. But one statistic that I like to share is that 1 in 10 young people, usually between the ages of 18 to 25, experience homelessness every year. It's a huge thing. And it's larger numbers also experience it at a young age as well. So sometimes we don't realize that families are going through this, and especially with the educational definition, with kids being doubled up with other families, they experience it. It can very easily be 1 or 2 kids in a classroom. So it's a lot more prevalent than we would like to think. And so it's just good for us to raise awareness about what's going on. So we'll go ahead and go on. I found this interesting picture because a lot of our homeless youth end up having a lot of adult worries. They worry that, something bad's going to happen to their families. They worry about monetary problems. And so it's a lot of adult worries that maybe we don't usually worry about as kids that we would imagine, right? And here's a short little clip that the national organization did on homelessness. They asked parents to ask their kids what it was like to be homeless, and I thought it might be an interesting perspective as we try to raise awareness about the issue this month. So hopefully our technology will work and you can watch this short video with us.
What is the hardest thing about not having your own house? You know, when we did live in a shelter?
Everything.
What's everything?
Everything up in the shelter. I'm saying everything.
The hardest thing about not having our own home is like how I dream to be successful and accomplish things.
Do kids at school know you are in a shelter?
No.
No.
And they always ask me, and I always say no.
They ask you if you're in a shelter?
Yeah. But one day, a little boy, he lived in a shelter, and he was in kindergarten, and everyone in the whole class made fun of him. And I don't like people making fun of me.
How did it make you feel when I told you that we might not know where we're going to live?
Scared?
Yeah. What were you scared of?
Rain? Because rain can be cold. And snow.
Yeah. You know how it made me feel? I was scared. But what I was scared of is not being able to keep you guys.
It makes it harder to do homework in a shelter. You don't usually, you can like hear noise, like the bathroom and the kitchen. So it doesn't really get quiet.
Were you scared when you lived in a shelter?
Yeah, I felt really uncomfortable.
What's the best part of having a home?
You have your own space. Like, just you can just run around your own room and say, "Home, I'm in here. 'Cause I love you." And we don't have to have no what is it called? Curfew at 10.
What does having a home mean to you?
Having a home means to me it's like I'm having a good day.
What will your dream bedroom look like?
Mini refrigerator, upstairs, big bed. No idea.
Upstairs in your bedroom?
Exactly.
What would your dream bedroom look like?
Mini refrigerator, a king bed.
You're a little bit small for a king bed.
No, I'm not.
Why do you think every kid deserves a home?
I just want everybody to have their own life and be rich. The kids should grow up and graduate and stuff and have their own home. I just want everybody to pray that we'll have our own house. And I wish we had 4 big bedrooms so then me and my brother won't have to share because he snores a lot. I do.
Whoops, what happened? Went too far. So that's just a brief perspective from a kid's point of view of what they go through. So it can be pretty challenging for kids who are dealing with, having to deal with the adult problems that they normally don't think of. So just some updates on moving on to some of the stuff that we're trying to do to help our families in the district who are dealing with homelessness through McKinney-Vento. So we're thankful to Project Hope through the city, the Torrance Council of PTAs. They were able to help us distribute some Halloween costumes to our kids so that they're able to participate like their peers and some of the activities that were able to be brought back due to COVID getting a little bit better, some Halloween parades at the school site. So they were able to participate. Thank you to Project Hope. A lot of our McKinney-Vento families got Halloween costumes donated. Upcoming this week on Thursday, we will be handing out Thanksgiving boxes to our families to get ready for the Thanksgiving holidays because we'll be out for a whole week. The students won't be at school, so it's a good time for us to provide some food for them for that week. Our interns are continuing to do case management for all of our McKinney-Vento families, so they're starting to get to know their families, talking to school sites, linking them up with different resources so that we can make sure we figure out what their needs are throughout the school year. We are also working on providing some trainings to classified staff, so school staff at the school site. So maybe our staff assistants, office assistants, health clerks, to give them some information on what are some best practices to work with our McKinney-Vento families at the school sites. And we are excited to say that we will be receiving some ARP2 funding, which is American Rescue Plan funding from the federal government, probably in February. So we hope to be able to expand some of our services to McKinney-Vento families through some of that funding. Also, we're excited, where did it go? There we go. We are excited that we just launched our holiday sponsor a family program for our McKinney-Vento families. So if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, or even if you just want to donate gift cards, you're welcome to do so. Like Denise said, there's usually a drive this time of the year. But if you're interested in sponsoring a family, this flyer just went out. So if you'd like to sponsor, feel free to go to this link here, or the flyer just went out to employees, but we will be including it in the PowerPoint when we follow up to give you notes on this meeting. So if anybody is interested, you can sponsor a small family, or you can get together with a group of your friends or family and to sponsor a larger family.
Members wishing to be recognized on this item,
Can I have whoever's in the background maybe mute yourself if you have another meeting or other things you might be doing? Anyone else? All right.
Nancy, can I ask a quick question on that flyer?
Of course.
It says you're supposed to sign up by 11/17.
Yes, it didn't actually go out until today, so we have extended the deadline to this Friday.
Okay.
Tammy Khan, our public information officer, just sent it out today. So we've extended the deadline till Friday, this Friday, the 19th.
Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out, Terry. I had done the PowerPoint before the email went out. But also, so we're going to take an opportunity to have Carolina introduce herself and give us an update on what the interns are up to. We're excited to have them working with us this year.
Hi, my name is Carolina. For those of you who don't know me, I am the district social worker at Torrance. And so, yeah, just to kind of also give a little bit information about McKinney-Vento is we're actually able to give out 132 Halloween costumes this year with the help of Project Hope. And that was a record for us. So we were really excited to be able to give out those costumes, and all the families were just so grateful. The interns are assigned at their school sites. So our MSW PPS interns give the district 36 full days a week of free services and help. And within those days, they provide individual counseling to students. They provide group. Some of the groups that our interns are doing is there's a lot of social skills groups, especially for the elementary kids, being on distant and social distancing for 2 years. The schools are finding that the kids are coming in with issues with deficits in just basic social skills. So there's a lot of social skills going on. There's also some grief groups. There is also some anger management groups that are going on. And then there's a plethora of them that are going to be starting up soon as well. So they're also doing second step. So our interns at the elementary and middle school level are doing second step on a weekly basis. For those who don't know what second step is, it's an evidence-based classroom curriculum where the interns go into the classrooms every week, anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the grade, and facilitate a lesson in second step. Second step is focused on social emotional regulation and emotional intelligence. We are going to have our parenting classes starting up in the new year. We have had interest from 5 schools that would like to host a parenting class. So we will be having both kid level child anywhere from 5 to 11, and then the preteen and teen classes at the various schools. Hall and Magruder will be hosting the teen ones, and then some of our elementary schools will be hosting the child ones. We also have our interns working on attendance. So the attendance work happens both at the school sites. So our PPS interns do 4 hours of attendance a week, and we have 12 PPS interns. So that just involves anything from calling families to home visits, to making sure attendance letters are being sent home, to facilitating and participating in pre-SAR meetings. Our McKinney-Vento families through the case management our interns are working really closely with them on attendance. We've already had some home visits that our interns have done. Our interns that are working with our McKinney-Vento families, our PPS interns, have done, Nancy referred to some of the referrals. A lot of the referrals that we've done is to the entry coordination system, which is actually what Mr. Doss will be talking about. We've worked really closely with Mr. Doss this year on a lot of our families. They have also been referring a lot to tutoring. There's a lot of parents who have concerns about their students being behind because of distance learning. So we have been referring to tutoring services. Counseling services has been another big one that families have been asking. So we've been referring them to counseling services. Our interns have been delivering food to the families. We've been able to support some of them with motel vouchers and school supplies, and just a variety of individual needs for the families.
Great. Now, just briefly, I think we had talked in the past at another collaborative meeting that Torrance Unified had gotten a 3-year grant in a consortium with LA County Office of Education for TUPE, which is Tobacco Use and Prevention Education. So this is our 2nd year of rolling it out at our school sites. So the school sites had their first professional development for the TUPE coordinators. And the whole reason that Torrance Unified was interested in this grant was to promote tobacco prevention because of the increased use of vaping in the district. Not just here in Torrance, but across the South Bay, vaping was becoming a lot more prevalent, and we wanted to get ahead of that and try and make sure that our students were given access to some tobacco prevention and intervention services so that they know what vaping actually is, that it's tobacco, that it's like smoking, that it can be very harmful. So the schools were given training and provided a lot of different things to provide parent presentations. They started rolling out Stanford curriculum, which is an anti-tobacco curriculum developed by Stanford University that provides information on the effects and use of tobacco and vaping products. We also have Monica Pavlovic, who's actually working very hard at our schools, and that's why she wasn't able to be here today, providing sessions for students who get caught vaping or with tobacco products. So they're given 3 brief intervention sessions to with one-on-one with her as a licensed therapist. So if schools are interested in referring to her, they can do so for any students that are caught, so that that's used as an alternative to suspension, so that hopefully we can help our students rethink their choices. Also, part of the TUPE grant involves doing like student challenges at the school sites, which we hope some of our schools will be doing in different ways, and having student speakers come on campus or do virtually depending on COVID regulations, but at least providing some somewhat fun activities to talk about tobacco prevention. And I think we have our famous Nettie Leolo, who is here to give you just a brief update on what the counselors are up to this year.
Good morning, everybody. As you can imagine, our counselors are quite busy with the increase in social emotional needs of our students. One thing that we're doing every year, I think we reviewed this before, but just a quick review for anyone that hasn't heard it. For this school year, using the ESSER funds or the COVID relief money, we have a full-time counselor at every elementary school. In addition, we have 1 social emotional learning instructional assistant that is there to assist with implementation, a second step. And so in all, we're very happy and pleased that this year in every single elementary school classroom, we are doing second step. Of course, it is a team effort. We have our counselors are doing lessons as well as our interns, as Carolina had explained earlier, as well as our social emotional learning IAs, because you know some of our sites are bigger than others, and it takes a lot of people to get all those lessons done and all those grades. In addition to that, we will have second step in our 6th grade as well. Also through our COVID relief money, we were able to have 2 therapists at each high school through our partnership with South Bay Children's Health Center, and 1 at each middle school. And just so you know, they are quite busy. As you can imagine, an additional thing that that we've been very pleased with the additional social emotional support that our school sites have been able to provide are wellness centers, like a room, some people refer to as a safe space, or a place where kiddos can go if they just need to take a breath, take a break, if they need to, you know, kind of calm down and help and self-regulate. Now, I know it's been a little bit more difficult at the middle schools for space, and not to say it's not difficult at some of the high schools for space as well, but I think our middle schools have been having a little bit more difficulty with space. So if you haven't heard about a wellness center or a particular school, it may be because of space. And also with having less staff at the middle school, it may not be manned full-time like it would be at the high school. Also, we're rolling out our suicide prevention curriculum as well, which is coming for our grades 6 through 12. We will be doing signs of suicide again. A couple of high schools have done some presentations as well, and that will be rolling out in the next couple of months. So that's it for me for my counseling updates. Unless anyone has any questions.
All right. Thank you, Nettie. Now, just really quick, I can't believe we're already talking about it, but we are already planning for enrollment for the upcoming school year. So if you have clients who are interested, the one key thing that we will be doing is because of state law has started to expand to universal TK. So it won't be all 4-year-olds next year, but each year until 25-26, it will be expanding a little bit. So next year, pretty much probably every single school site we're imagining will have TK. And it's a few more months of school for some of the TKers. So for kids born in 2017 and 18, between September, after September to December, they'll be able to attend TK. And so we're excited to have more little ones on our campus and we'll be expanding a little bit more in that regard. And enrollment for the 2022-23 school year will be beginning in January at the Family Welcome Enrollment Center. We're also probably rolling out an online enrollment system that's a little bit different than we've been using in the past. So families will hopefully have another option to enroll instead of coming in person. So if you have any questions, they can always, if you have clients, they can call us at the Welcome Center or stop by or visit our website at TUSD. All right. And just really quick, I think many of you have already heard, but as the vaccines have been approved for younger students, TUSD is offering 2 vaccine clinics for students 5 and up on 2 Wednesdays. So actually tomorrow is the first one and the second one is on December 8th. It's going to be at the Family Welcome Enrollment Center, but in the lower parking lot. So it's the large parking lot that's on the lower area by the Welcome Center from 12 to 5. It's open to all students, families, and staff. They're asking that you register in advance at this URL, and there's a password. I will send out the PowerPoint if anybody's interested, but they ask that you have an appointment. And also, just in case you weren't aware, COVID-19 testing is also open for all students and staff, as it has been in the last few months. So there's free testing at each of the 4 high schools for students or staff from Monday through Friday. And the locations can be found on the website as well. So just also some new resources when you get the PowerPoint emailed to you. The Providence is rolling out bereavement grief support groups in January. So we have that new flyer for students ages 9 to 12. So they have different sessions that are starting in January and February. And St. Margaret's Center is another homeless resource that they have. They provide food, hygiene items, but also showers, medical, mail service, haircuts, counseling, those type of things. So it's a lot of different services that are available to homeless families and individuals. It's in Lenox, so it's not immediately close in our area, but it's not too far for our families to travel in case they need some of those services. So also just one last resource, we do have our interns that specifically focus on our foster youth. So we have, because of some of the federal funding coming out, LA County Office of Education has been able to expand their academic support for foster youth. So if you have students who are interested, who are either behind or who would like one-on-one tutoring and are foster youth, we can refer them to LA County Office of Ed for one-on-one tutoring. And also if there are seniors, it's really important that we get them signed up for the FAFSA so that they can get all of the aid that they may qualify for. And I think that is it for my updates, and I will hand it off to our first speaker, Viet, who is here, I think.
I am. Thank you, Doc G. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Viet. I'm with the City of Torrance City Manager's Office. And just to let you all know, I'm in a conference room because my computer crashed this morning. So I apologize. I'm probably teeny tiny on your screen. The plus is all of you are on a giant wall that I'm looking at you right now. So not to make you self-conscious, but that's what I'm seeing. I do have a presentation for you today. I'm going to move fairly quickly. I encourage you, if you have any questions, feel free to use the raise your hand option and I'll call on you, or drop it in chat. I would rather answer any questions that you may have before I go too far in this presentation. So, and one last thing, I do want to note that my presentation is not nearly as attractive as Doc G's presentation. So bear with me, I tend to be a little bit more factual with information. I wanted to start our presentation today. Many of you have probably seen these statistics. It does inform a lot of the work we do here at the city. The statistics I wanted to share with you are the last homeless count, actually the trending in the homeless count that the city of Torrance has seen since 2015. So as you can see, based on the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority's annual homeless count, our numbers have been increasing over the last 5 years. And most notably between 2019 and 2020, there was a sharp increase in the number of people experiencing homelessness in our own community. I think what's important for us as a city, or as us as a community, to talk about is, what does homelessness actually look like in Torrance? And so this graph shows you sort of the breakdown of where the unhoused dwell, again, based off of LAHSA's homeless count. The vast majority of people experiencing homelessness in Torrance are experiencing vehicular homelessness. So whether it's an RV, a car, possibly a van, that would encompass anyone experiencing vehicular homelessness. Based on the 2020 count, 195 people were experiencing vehicular homelessness. 75 were experiencing street homelessness, whether it's in a park, a sidewalk, and an encampment, anywhere that's considered uninhabitable, that would constitute the 75 individuals experiencing street homelessness. And those in shelters were 52 in our own community. This year's homeless count did not occur because of COVID. Specifically, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority expressed concern about keeping people safe. Normally people who are not in the same household participate in the homeless count. And so there will be 3 or 4 people in different households who are in the same vehicle driving throughout the census tracts in Torrance, counting people experiencing homelessness. Because they are in different households, LAHSA decided that to maintain the safety of our community, we did not have a homeless count this year. We are expecting to have a homeless count in January of 2022. That will occur on the 4th Wednesday in the evening. So if you are interested in volunteering, please consider pulling together a team of 2 to 3 other people with whom you may have regular contact with, whether it's family members or friends or colleagues. Create a team and we'll deploy you in a car. You'll even have a fancy new app this year to help us count people experiencing homelessness in our community. Without a doubt, I'm sure all of you have heard the likelihood that our numbers will increase significantly in the 2022 count is very high. We are expecting more people experiencing homelessness, in part because of the moratorium on rent evictions has come to an end. We recognize that unemployment has taken its toll, and just the general trend that we saw in our community over the last 5 years of increasing homelessness. Based on all those factors, we do expect that number to increase. So what is the city of Torrance doing about this, and what do we have in place? One of the initiatives I'm very, very excited to share with you is in February of this year, for the first time ever, the city of Torrance retained its own outreach and navigation expert to serve only the city of Torrance. So we did enter an agreement with our partners over at Harbor Interfaith Services, to have a dedicated outreach individual and housing navigator to cover Torrance. Why is this significant? Well, it's significant to me for a number of reasons. Number one is this is the first time the city of Torrance has really stopped and asked itself, what does homelessness truly look like in Torrance? Besides the statistics I just shared with you from LAHSA, what do we know about people experiencing homelessness right here in Torrance? How have we engaged in conversations so we understand what led them to their situation and what they need to achieve permanent housing? That's one key reason why we were thrilled to actually retain a dedicated outreach worker. Second is we wanted someone who knows our own community spends 5 days a week here and builds deeper relationships. We've all probably heard statistics that it takes 8 to 10 visits with someone before they'll accept one service. That's just one service. Many times people will need multiple services to achieve permanent housing. So we wanted a dedicated person who knows our community inside and out, knows the individuals, and can build deeper relationships. So that's why we were so thrilled to actually be able to retain our own outreach worker this year. Some key successes we've seen in the 9 months that our outreach worker, by the way, her name is Valerie, and she's amazing. Some of the key successes that Valerie has been able to achieve, she's had light touch interaction with 38 unique individuals. So light touch could be anything from offering a referral of any sort, asking about their immediate needs, helping them find food. That would be an example of light touch. Really exciting for us is Valerie has achieved a caseload of 30 clients for case management. What this means is 30 individuals are now on some kind of housing plan. A housing plan is the plan that eventually gets someone to achieve permanent housing, and probably starts with something as simple as finding stable interim housing for a temporary period of time, and moves on to something more complex, such as helping them get document ready. So when the time comes for them to apply for any supportive housing or permanent housing, they have the documents in place. That's what we mean by case management. So Valerie's achieved 30 clients to actually be on the housing plan. Valerie's achieved interim housing for 2 clients, meaning interim housing is some kind of bridge housing while someone tries to achieve permanent housing. And super exciting for us is Valerie's actually achieved 12 permanent housing placements in the 9 months that she's been here. What have we learned in our 9 months? Again, number one is that relationship building takes a commitment of time and ongoing contacts with individuals. We cannot expect a one-time visit with someone for someone to trust us. We need to build that relationship again where they do trust us and are willing to accept services. That's the number one lesson we've learned so far. Number two, COVID has added a significant barriers. Anything from having challenges of accessing a DMV appointment to get a California ID or a license, to getting a social security card. COVID has added a lot of extra barriers and extra time in supporting people. We've also learned as we're reaching out to people that the best thing that we can look forward to, or the best way we can help people, is to get them immediately stabilized in some kind of housing situation where they feel safe and they're able to focus in on a permanent housing plan. So getting them a sense of housing stability coupled with case management, meaning we recognize everyone has unique needs. And we need to sit down with individuals and figure out what is it that they need so that they can achieve permanent housing. Those are some of the key lessons we've learned in our first 9 months having an outreach worker. I'm very excited to tell you, thanks to a grant from the South Bay City Councils of Government, we asked them, our outreach program is working, can we get some more outreach staff? And they've financially committed to that. So at some point next year, we will be adding 1 or 2 additional outreach workers to our outreach program. Moving on, another key element that we have achieved is to adopt a homelessness plan. At the end of my presentation, I'm going to give you a website where you can read all about the plan. But I wanted to tell you at a very high level, I want to be conscious of your time, and I know you have another speaker. So at a very high level, I wanted to share with you some key elements of our homelessness plan. Our goals in our plan are first to provide education and awareness, not just to our community, but to city staff as well. So we're rolling out Homelessness 101 training to city staff, city commissions, and then we're going to roll it out to the community as well with online videos and hopefully some in-person training for homeowners associations and in any of your organizations. Homelessness 101 training really answers the question, what are some of the root causes of homelessness and how can all of you be part of the solution? That's very key to us. Again, I'm going to point out some key ones just to be sensitive of the remaining time we have. Our third goal that we have is leveraging existing city resources. What we found in writing a homelessness plan is that there's a lot of things already going on. What we can do is build on them. A great example of that is we currently use CDBG funds, Community Development Block Grant funds, for sidewalk repair. And we get these funds through a consortium through LA County. Well, by accepting the funds directly and expending them, we actually could get an additional 20% allocation, which could go for things such as retaining an outreach worker. That's a good example of us for our third goal, which is to leverage existing city resources to provide more funding available for those who are experiencing homelessness. One more key goal I want to point out in this one, which we'll talk a little bit more on our next slide, is number 6. We're very excited about exploring interim housing and programs for vehicle dwellers. That's a key part of our 3-year homelessness plan. In fact, I'm going to share with you a little bit more on the actions we're taking on interim housing. I'm very excited to share with you on June 22nd of this year, City Council did approve of a pilot program for the city to have an interim housing program. We call it our temporary housing program because it couples tiny homes along with case management. So City Council approved the Civic Center grounds right next to the police department and right next to our courthouse to have 40 tiny homes. So it's non-congregate homes. You can see a picture at the bottom here. Again, I'm not really a good PowerPoint person, so I apologize about the fuzziness of the picture. That's what the unit looks like. Those are 64 square feet units. And they are for individual adults or couples in a relationship. The goal of our program is to couple what I mentioned earlier, housing stability with case management. So what that means is these 40 units will have an operator. We will issue an RFP very soon for to select an operator who will then provide the case management, 3 meals a day, and operate the general welfare and safety of the tiny home village. Our hope is that individuals in this unit can achieve permanent housing within 3 to 6 months. And again, it depends on the needs of the individual. We recognize that people's timeline are very different, their needs are different. So while 3 to 6 months is our hope, we recognize it could take 9, 12 months for some other individuals who may have greater needs. So where are we at with this project? I'm very excited to share with you that yesterday we actually broke ground. It wasn't this big ribbon cutting, primarily because there's not much to see. When I say groundbreaking, we're actually doing site preparation. It's not a very sexy process. It's about trenching. It's about setting poles in place for a fence. So if you went to our groundbreaking, you would probably yawn because there's nothing really exciting about it. We'll do something a little bit more when we actually have the units on site and when we actually select our operator. But please know that site preparation has actually started. I continue working with funding development. So in fact, I was just on the call right before this one with the County of Los Angeles and the South Bay City's Council of Government to make sure that we secure funding for the next 12 months during our pilot period. And should City Council authorize us to go beyond the 12-month period, that we have some finances in place, which thankfully, because of the work of a number of staff people, not including myself, some smart staff people, they were able to find funding that could take us through several years. So we're very excited about that. Our goal is that we will activate this site sometime in spring of 2022. Next initiative I want to share with you very quickly is we did receive 33 vouchers through the American Rescue Plan. These are emergency housing vouchers that are focused for people experiencing domestic violence, human trafficking, or people experiencing homelessness. And it's a collaboration between our housing authority, our outreach worker, and the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. 14 vouchers have already been issued to people. So we've already matched 14 individuals. Earlier this year, we had a program for rental assistance where we helped 91 households with rental payments that were in arrears. And what's really exciting to us is 47% of those 91 qualify as extremely low income according to the HUD definition. Lastly, under housing initiatives, we did receive client aid funds through the South Bay City's Council of Government. And those are short-term funds that can help someone for 1, 3, maybe 5 days. And it could help them with rental assistance to cover time periods in between permanent housing options, or it might be a hotel stay that someone needs while they're interviewing for permanent housing. So far, 4 clients have received support. The funds do expire at the end of December, and we are expecting the South Bay City's Council of Government to announce a new pot of money for next year. If you need any, or if you know of anyone needing any of those programs, please reach out to us. Our contact information is at the very end of this slide. Other initiatives that we have in place, we do rely heavily on internal teams. So what we learned this year is we got a lot of internal teams, meaning city departments who do different things. What we're trying to do is bring them together on a monthly basis so that we don't duplicate efforts and that we can maximize the response that we have. We have monthly meetings with our Harbor Interfaith outreach program, as well as people assisting the homelessness, so that we can focus in on what we call hot spots, meaning areas where residents have let us know that there's an encampment or someone that really needs assistance. The commission, we have a social services commission that works with a number of programs. And thanks to Nettie and Doc G, they were part of the original team that helped our social services commission figure out what work that they could be doing. So one thing we do is we do an annual toiletry drive every March and April, where all the proceeds go to our local nonprofits, including Harbor Interfaith Services, 1736, Family Promise, and Mental Health of America, Los Angeles. We also participate in TUSD's school supply drive in July, something that our community and our employees look forward to. Again, we do lead the homeless count every year. We will start recruiting for it in just the next few weeks. So if you are available the 4th Wednesday in January and can put together a team of 2 to 3 other people, please consider volunteering. All of our resources on homelessness can be found at this website on this address here. And a question that we often get from the community that we would love your help spreading the word for is, how can I help? Especially when I see someone experiencing homelessness, how can I help? The most important thing you can do is use the LA HOP portal, which can be found at la-hop.org, to let our coordinated entry system, which happens to be led by Harbor Interfaith Services, know that the community has seen someone who's experiencing homelessness. And that way we can dispatch someone from our outreach team to help them. Just to let you know, it could take up to 72 hours to dispatch someone. As we know, staffing is very difficult in the homelessness world right now. So it could take up to 72 hours before we can dispatch someone to connect with that individual. If the person making the report on lahop.org chooses to do so, if they leave an email address behind, we do follow up with them and let them know the outcome. We can't give them specifics for confidentiality reasons, but we can generally let them know if we connected with them or not. And sometimes that can cue the person that they need to give a little more detail so that we can actually identify the individual. That's probably the best way that we are asking the community to help, is through letting us know through the LA HOP portal when they see someone experiencing homelessness. Lastly, here are our contacts. Zolma Gent and I do lead our homelessness effort here at the City of Torrance. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll email these slides to Doc G so she can get them out to you, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Viet. We really appreciate you coming out and taking time out of your day, even after your computer crashed. So
you're welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. I know the city's been doing a lot of work, and the Social Services Commission has, helped start that and push that in the right direction. So we appreciate your time.
Doc G, do you mind if I answer the few questions I see in the chat box?
Yes, of course. Yes.
So from former school board member Reagan's, do these numbers reflect our homeless student count? It does not. So it only reflects the street count, people in a shelter. So the shelters we have here in Torrance are Family Promise of South Bay, and then there's 2 others that are referrals through the Department of Health that we have here, and those experiencing vehicular homelessness. So it does not count student count. Good question. And Torrance students, homeless families. So it would not count them unless they happen to be counted as part of the street count. I'll give you a clue, and everyone on this call, very rarely, in the 5 years I've been doing the count, I've never seen families, meaning I've never seen children as part of the count. So as Nancy Wilcox, who's a part of the South Bay Coalition and Homelessness, always says, People who have students who are experiencing homelessness do a good job of not being visible out of fear that students may be taken away from them, or the negative connotations that come should their student be identified as experiencing homelessness. Also from former board member Riggins, how is City Torrance participating in connecting the 988 call center? Good question. So we are on the calls. The county, I believe next year, is hoping to release the 988 call center. We are a part of the planning process. There's not a specific role that we are being asked at this time to play on it. Our fire department is involved with it and understands the general concepts. There are some initiatives on our end to see if we can get mental health centers potentially, and just general community health centers here in Torrance. So that's probably the best answer I can give you at this time. Thank you, everyone.
Viet, can I elaborate just a second?
Please.
Part of my question had to do is, I guess cities in fact have to eventually invest some monies to actually make it happen locally. And I wasn't sure if, I know that our financial situation in Torrance is not great right now, so I doubt that's happening right now.
We have not been asked for any investment of any sort. And actually on all the calls, I have yet to hear it be mentioned. So,
okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And I will be sending out the slides if I get those from Viet. So thank you so much. All right. So I think we're going to try and do we have any other questions before we go on? No? All right. Just so that we respect your time, it's almost 11. So I just want, 12, sorry. I will move on to our next speakers from Harbor Interfaith, Lawrence Doss. I think I see two of you on here. So I wasn't sure which one to make co-hosts. So I believe you have sharing capabilities if you have a PowerPoint.
So if we can.
Oops.
Oh, hold on. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. My connection is very, very unstable with the one with the purple background. So I signed in on my cell phone, but let's see. If you could give screen share access to the one with the purple background, it has Junior on there. And then maybe I'll just screen share through there and I'll just talk through my cell phone if that works.
It looks like you have co-hosting on the purple screen. So you should be
Perfect. Thank you. So can everyone see my screen? Everyone can. I'll probably just spend most of the time talking from this slide. I think we may have covered it before. The reason why I wanted to stay here is because there's, of course, I've definitely enjoyed, there's been a lot more referrals from Torrance Unified, and I think the team of interns and just the whole team, I think, has done a really, really good job. I think the one thing I've noticed, so I have monthly meetings with Harbor Interfaith, and when we have our monthly meetings, I sit down with the family response team who does the intake, the person in charge of the prevention services, and PATH, Barbara Berry, who's there, part of their intake team. So we all sit down together. At our last meeting, they wanted me to just make sure I touched on the difference between the McKinney-Vento definition of homelessness that's used within the school system and the HUD definition that is used at our CES agencies. And it's quite a bit of a difference. So if you look on the left side of the screen under our McKinney-Vento definition within our school sites, you'll see that the three keywords are fixed, regular, and adequate. And these are important because, is the home and the housing situation, is it one that is, permanent? It's not subject to change. This is a stable place. We can expect this consistent placement moving forward. Is it regular? Is it going to be used on a nightly basis? And is it adequate? And this is where I think we have within our school system, we have some, we can use our ability to assess the family situation, right? To determine if a housing accommodation is adequate. So if we have a 1-bedroom, apartment, and we have a family of 7, right? We may say maybe that's not adequate per se, right? Now that may meet our definition for homelessness within the school site. If we stay with that example of, let's say, a family with 7 children and they have a 1-bedroom apartment, we may determine that it is not adequate housing. But according to the CES system, they are not literally homeless, right? So they would be homeless according to McKinney-Vento in that situation, but not necessarily homeless according to the HUD definition. And so when the referrals come in and we submit them to Harbor Interfaith, they may look at that and say, well, the family is not literally homeless and they don't meet that definition. In saying that, though, it doesn't mean that the family will not be eligible to receive any sort of services. As the first part of the presentation was happening, I did receive an email from a different case I was working on, but I thought it would be good to kind of share, just to kind of give an example of some of the overlap between McKinney-Vento and the HUD definition. So if you guys could bear with me, is that okay if I kind of share a little bit of the story with this particular family? Okay. So with this particular family, it is a family of 3. There's a mother and 2 children. The children are staying with a family member in Hollywood. The mother she's renting a room in Carson, right? And so because of that, what the mother does every morning, she goes and picks up the children early every morning from Hollywood, brings them back to Spa 8. They attend a LA Unified School within Spa 8, and then takes them back home in Hollywood. Now, the referral came in from the school counselor that the family is homeless. The mother, she has not had a permanent lease in her name along with her children for the past 4 years. But, there's quite a few things now where it may get a little blurry, right? So if we look on the left side of our screen again, is the living situation fixed? Someone may be able to argue yes if they've been staying with that family member for the past 4 years. Is it regular? We could possibly argue yes, it's regular. They've been there every night. Is it adequate? And there we might say no, right? We might say it's not adequate for the mother to be separated from her 2 children, to have to drive from Hollywood back to Spot 8 every day. We may not say it's adequate, right? So the referral went to Harbor Interfaith, and the response we got from Harbor Interfaith is that they did not, in addition to all of the qualifications listed on the right side of the screen, they also have to take into account mother's income, income, family composition. Mother works full time, right? And she brings in quite a significant amount of income every month. So what Harbor Interfaith did in this particular case is they told her, well, we will try to help you locate a unit that you can afford, right? And if she is able to locate a unit that she's able to afford, then they may possibly be able to help with the first and last and the security deposit, since that would be a barrier for her to secure that permanent housing. But after assisting with that barrier, she'd be able to afford the monthly payment, right? Now, there's an additional barrier in this case. The additional barrier is that she has eviction history and her credit is not the best, right? So in this case, what Harbor Interfaith did is say, okay, well, we have a list of recommendations of landlords who may be willing to work with your credit history. They may be able to kind of work with you because of your eviction history. So we're gonna give you this list of names of landlords. And if you're able to secure and kind of come to an agreement on a monthly rent you can afford, then maybe we can assist with the first month last month and the security again. I know that was quite a bit, but I'm hoping to kind of explain or at least kind of put some legs to these definitions and how they interact with each other. I'll pause though if anyone had any question. Okay. So one of the things that happens, what I've enjoyed most about working with Torrance Unified so far, the referrals are really, really good. And they come in and we submit them to the agency. There's a couple things that happen and that have happened. One of the things that can happen is our families are very mobile. Their phones may get cut off. Their emails, they may not have access to emails. So in those cases, I do have access to the HMIS system that all of our housing agencies use. I have view-only access to where I can at least go in and be able to observe what's taking place with those referrals so that if there's any break in communication, I can try to link those things back together. There have been times where some referrals, the case manager may say, well, we can't do anything right now, but I need you to bring in proof of your income for the next 2 months. And sometimes what that may be interpreted as is we may have a client to say, well, no one did anything for me at that time, and they may get frustrated and completely drop it. And in those cases, I think it's really important we continue to work together because we may be able to pick that ball back up where it was left a couple months back to say, according to the system, this is the last person you met with. Here were the recommendations. Let's get you that contact information so that you can continue that process, even though you may not have done, those recommended steps a month ago. Let's pick it back up so we can move forward. So I think it's been really helpful in terms of maintaining contact with our referrals. Let's see. Any questions for me?
Well, Lawrence, you mentioned the key difference between the homeless definition federally and educationally. And I just wanted to clarify, if we were to refer a family who, let's say, fits our educational definition, you did said that there might be some services they qualify for. To make it better for the agency, would it be helpful if we clarified this is just a family who may need supportive services, who doesn't meet the federal definition, or what would be helpful? Or should we be referring those families?
No, I think you should still refer those families because the prevention services, and maybe I'll even share a flyer after our meeting for the prevention services. You can still refer them. I don't think you have to specify which one it is, only because I guess I've seen in this role over time that every once in a while we'll get like a special exception, right? Like, or there may be some small caveat of one of the definitions that I may overlook. And I don't want to mislead anyone and say, no, you don't qualify for this or that. Yeah, I really don't want to do that. So I would still recommend sending those in. But the prevention services, I've noticed most of our families qualify for prevention services, which means that they didn't meet the HUD definition, but there still may be some assistance, like I said, if they're able to maybe locate a unit who's willing to work with their budget. Harbor Interfaith will try to step in. There's other cases where with the prevention services, let's say a family might receive an eviction notice, but let's say the landlord says, well, if you're able to catch up and make those arrear payments, then the eviction, we will take this notice off and we will allow you to stay here permanently still. So that may be a case that although they're not, they still may qualify. So I don't want to discourage the referrals at all.
Lawrence, is it possible for us to get a schedule of when you have your monthly meetings, so that we might be able to reach out before then to get updates on our families? Like you mentioned, I know we've been sending a lot more referrals to you this year. And so I know there's a lot of questions in the air about where the referral process is.
Yes, maybe I can just send out a reminder. I have it on the second Wednesday of every month. It's already regularly scheduled. It's going to be the second Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m. And I have those meetings with Harbor Interfaith. The only reason I'm not able to invite others to attend those meetings is when your referrals come over and we get those release of information for each of our families, it gives me permission to share communication between LA Unified, Torrance, the CES system. But during those meetings, we discuss a lot of different cases and so since everyone doesn't have a release of information for every case, I don't invite anyone else to them. But yeah, they're going to happen the second Wednesday of every month. Yeah, I think, are there any more questions for me? I can stop sharing my screen. No. I know I talked quite a bit.
I think the only question I think that would be helpful for community partners is to understand a little bit about when the referral is submitted in the process and kind of the time frames and things like that, because kind of as you've alluded to, it's quite a process. There's quite a few steps, and it might help our community members to know some of those when referring.
Yeah, so the process, wow, the timeline, I know that's a difficult one. And it's difficult because Harbor Interfaith is the lead agency for SPA 8, but there are also other agencies who serve certain specific parts of SPA 8. So like the northern region of SPA 8, those will go to PATH. Those primarily serve like Gardena, Hawthorne, Lenox, the northern part. There's Catholic Charities who serves more like Long Beach, Torrance, some of those parts. Timeline and process, what typically happens is once they're submitted to Harbor Interfaith, their family response team, they do an assessment and they determine which agency is going to be the lead agency to handle it. So some may remain at Harbor Interfaith, some go to PATH, so some go to Catholic Charities. Once that happens, their outreach team usually conducts, and I can't tell you the time. That's where it's hard because the time depends on how many other calls that are on their callback list at that time. I've seen some that happen same day. I've seen some next day, and I've seen some take about a week. So it depends on the length of their callback list at that time. When they do make those phone calls, they do an initial assessment over the phone to determine where was their last, permanent address, where is the spa they have the most connections to just to ensure that it belongs to SPA 8. If they determine that that family may qualify for services, they'll normally start the process of collecting documentation. And that's when they'll need social security card, birth certificates, proof of income. During that time, they may also go through a process called problem solving. And that's just a generic, problem solving is sort of a generic name that they give to what's the best way to describe it? The agencies want to ensure that all other potential resources are exhausted prior to accessing the CES system. So what that could mean is ensuring the family has already been connected to the Department of Social Services if they are eligible for any of their programs as well. It could mean that let's say we have a family who's close to being evicted. It could mean just troubleshooting to see, hey, have you maybe spoken with a landlord about this? Or it could be if they're doubled up with a family member, that Harbor Interfaith may determine what has led them to the point where the family member is asking for them to leave. So let's say it could be something like Harbor Interfaith offering, hey, what if we were to cover the water bill or the electricity bill at this family member's house where you're doubled up? Could they possibly allow you to stay for even longer? So they might kind of take them through all of those steps prior to coming to the decision of, okay, now we'll help with, maybe a shelter or something along those lines. I know that's a lot, it's a mouthful.
Well, unless we have anybody else who has questions, I think we've already run over, so I apologize for taking up a lot of your extra time. But maybe, Lawrence, if you want to send me a couple of slides about Harbor Interfaith, we're happy to include them in the follow-up information that we provide to the community members and to everybody who came, so that they can review them about Harbor Interfaith. But as you can tell, once a family is referred to Harbor Interfaith, it can take a little bit of time for them to get through the process and to access the myriad of resources that they may have access to. It sounds like there are a lot of little programs that they might qualify for here and there. And it's just challenging, and it may take a little bit of patience on the behalf of our families to kind of see what works for them or not.
Thank you. I put my contact info on the chat also.
Thank you. All right. So yes, I will be sending out the Zoom video to everybody. If you have any other follow-up things at the end, does anybody else have any announcements before we end for today? No. All right. I will let everybody go, and I will be following up with an email with our notes and our PowerPoint. Thank you so much for joining us. I apologize for going over today. Take care. And our next meeting is in January. Happy holidays.